Good morning, and thanks so much for tuning into the trade setup. I'm Neeraj Shah, and remember the US markets were shut. So, in terms of global news flow, there is not too much, but the European market certainly extended their gains on the Fed slowdown hopes. And there's some bit of risk on in risk assets. Bitcoin bounced off 2 year lows as well. Amongst other news, while we heard yesterday about the India-Australia FTA, there is Piyush Goyal saying that India and the GCC have agreed to resume negotiations for the FTA. These had stopped some years back because of multiple reasons, what have you. But apparently, there is a start on that, and which is a great thing. So a bunch of these FTAs being signed. UK is anticipated shortly. There's lots happening from within the Indian landscape, must say. Like I said, not too much in terms of global news flow from the US markets, but the SGX, okay, yeah. I mean, most of these things will have remained stagnant, but the SGX Nifty should come up on your screen, and let's see what that is indicating. And About 39 odd points. So in red, but so flattish start anticipated from an SGX Nifty perspective. Do watch out for that. Um, the trade setup, I think we are at record highs, which is something to cheer, at least the Sensex and the Bank Nifty. And frankly, to my mind, it's the Bank Nifty which has been leading this charge, trading at all-time highs, very likely to continue momentum as per chartists. Sure, there could be a dull day today, and because of the absence of a lot of global cues, essentially the US markets, you may have a day which is starting off placid. Who knows, it may perk up a little bit in the second half as well, and may have a trending day just like yesterday. But let's wait and watch. Upward trending day, I mean. But as per chart, is Bank Nifty is likely to continue the momentum. The FI index futures, long short ratio, as well as the single stock futures holding indicate optimism. The only thing is, this is good for the very short term. Let's say immediately, these things can change very easily. And I've observed this over multiple cycles, that what happens at the start of the month is definitely not an indication of how the month will necessarily go on. The very short term indicate, but for the very short term, yes, there is a bit of positivity for sure. And aside of banks, I think what is actually coming up very well is IT now. Nifty IT, led by Infosys, has bounced back with institutional flows into large cap IT, by the way. But yesterday, we saw a bout of short covering in mid cap IT too. I mean, think of it. Birla Soft was the leader amongst the IT stocks yesterday, but a bunch of other IT stocks too bounced back. So there is some momentum in IT, and I think it is not something to be scoffed at. We've seen even in the fortnightly flows from the FIIs that we dissected in trade setup yesterday, that IT too has seen inflows. Banking, of course, was the leader, but IT is seeing inflows, and therefore it's something to monitor. Amongst key underperformers, Pharma continues to lag, but insurance could see further upticks. These are so, IT saw some bounce back. Then there are Pharma and insurance. Insurance, because of the regulations yesterday, has seen a bounce back, and if brokerage notes are to be believed, there could be more in store. The one which is not seeing any kind of bounce back is pharmaceuticals, and laggards are continuing to remaining laggards. I mean, think of it. Lotus Labs on the day of the results went down to 475, then continued downward despite the promises of the management, or despite the comment from the management. It's still trading at 450. Aurobindo Pharma yesterday traded at new lows. So pharmaceuticals has a bit of an issue. There is Lupin, which has got an announcement today as well, and we'll get to that in a moment. But everything else, the other underperformers, which is insurance and IT, are kind of starting to make a bit of a turnaround. So it could be an interesting play there. Some derivative stocks at new highs include a HAL, Canara Bank, Bank of Baroda, PFC, Punjab National Bank, and as I mentioned yesterday, if you look at the table toppers list, it is filled with PSU banks, and then defense is a close second. Somehow those two pockets are just right out there. You could argue private banks too, but somehow at the broader end of the spectrum, PSU banks are just putting their hands up and participating every single day, which is quite stunning, really. And like I said yesterday, institutional money and smart money, I mean, Sridhar Sivram of Enam is a smart guy. A bunch of others who've spoken about it, smart people. And it'll be interesting to talk to Devina Mehra today as she joins us about PSU banks as well. So lots to monitor. I'll tell you about that in a moment. First, the stocks to watch in the session today. Lupin, the US FDA has issued a Form 483 with 8 observations each for the drug product API facilities at Mandideep. The company says that we do not believe this will have an impact on disruption of supplies or the existing revenues from operations of this facility. So that's the statement from Lupin. They are not saying that we'll take corrective action or whatever. Their statement is that they don't believe there is disruption of supplies or the existing revenues. Now, we don't know the nature of the observation, so unfortunately, I can't comment on whether it's good, bad, or how good or how bad. It is an important facility, remains to be seen. Very likely that Lupin could have a bit of a reaction on this. So, despite the statement, let's wait and watch. PNB, UTIMC, PNB in particular, has received the government approval to divest about 15.22% stake that it holds in UTI Asset Management Company. To be honest, amongst the AMCs listed, including HDFC, Aditya Birla Sun Life, Aditya Birla Mutual Fund, that is, sorry, not Sun Life, Aditya Birla Mutual Fund, UTIMC. UTIMC arguably has been the stock that has done reasonably well, and PNB has now gotten the approval to divest that 15.22% stake. Interesting, what the buyers there. Small stock, Rossell India, Quant Mutual Fund bought about 1.94 lakh shares at 302. Harvin Estates sold about 2 lakh shares. There are a couple of other bulk deals as well, one in which Plutus Wealth Management has bought something. But I thought Quant buying these days usually evokes some response, and that was important to bring that out. And then amongst not as a financial deal, but as a block deal, ISMT, Kirloskar Industries bought about 1.5 crore shares, which is about 4.99% stake. And Indian Seamless Enterprises sold about 1.5 crore shares. So an interesting block deal as well yesterday. Half anticipated, to be honest, but still bringing it out. Some corporate activity anticipated today include, of course, Adani Enterprises. The board meet to discuss the fundraising plan, including a public offering, a follow-on public offering, preferential allotment of shares, what have you. I think this will be important for the group at large and for Adani Enterprises as well, the quantum of valuation, etc. The stock has had a tearaway run, so therefore the valuations at which the management is looking to do this is interesting for them. Of course, a standard disclosure, viewers, that Adani Group owns 49% stake or is in the process of acquiring 49% stake in Quintillion Business Media, which owns BQ Prime, which is the platform that you're watching. Just want to make that disclosure. But yes, it's an important fundraising announcement. It's a Nifty 50 company looking to do a very large fundraise, and therefore a very important development to be monitored. Likely may come out post-market hours, and therefore the reactions, if any, will be seen on Monday, but an important one to follow up. Aarti Surfactants will consider terms and conditions of a rights issue, and IEX will consider the proposal of buyback of its shares. So therefore, two interesting names, Aarti and IEX, and the Adani Group in focus. So therefore, a bunch of names out there, all of them very interesting things to monitor from a corporate activity perspective. In terms of brokerage calls, Siemens has had okay, let's finish this first. Axis Bank, they had a analyst day, and therefore a bunch of brokerage notes have come out. I've brought the one which I thought stood out for me, which is the Jeffries view on Axis Bank. They have a buy call with a target price of 1110. They are saying the bank emphasized at its analyst day that investment in digital platforms is helping engage with customers across life cycle, boosting cross-sell opportunities. The Citi and Flipkart partnership will make it amongst the top credit card platforms and is deepening the SME engagement. The saying management is confident about asset quality, growth, and return on assets, and the valuation discount of 40% to ICICI Bank should narrow a little bit. Some of it has happened. They believe some of it could happen. Some of the others too have sounded a positive bugle on Axis, and frankly, on banks, most people have an optimistic view. So it'll be interesting to see how Axis Bank reacts today. We've seen of late that stocks which have had a large analyst day tend to come out positively. So could be interesting to see what Axis does in the session today. What else am I missing? I just want to bring that out. There is a government meet apparently to expedite the rail infra capex, and therefore that will bring the Titagar wagons, Texmaco rails, etc. in focus. So watch out for all of those. What else? I'm just trying to log into my phone to try and understand what else have I missed out on. Goldman Sachs on KPIT Tech. They are a Pharma bull on KPIT, but their price target is 930, and they are saying this Renault partnership could be a really interesting one. By the way, viewers, keep in mind, I mean, there is the price tag is 930. And for all of you who want to understand a bit more about this, Sachin Tikekar has talked to us yesterday in a 15-minute conversation around KPIT and explaining what this deal means for them. From his perspective, it's a really meaningful deal. And for all of you who might be interested in trying to know more, it is a really good conversation to look at, not just because we've done it, but because he's explained in detail about what's happening. So on all our social media platforms, including our website, just go out and try and search for the KPIT Tech chat or conversation with us, and you will find Sachin Tikekar's views. It's about a 14-minute conversation, but I think he gives out a lot of details, so do watch out for that one. Bernstein has a note on HDFC Bank with an outperform rating and a target price of 2,200. Like I said, on Axis, most people have been bullish, so that is, of course, an interesting name to monitor in the session today. So lots to watch out for in terms of trade. Do watch out for banks in particular. Do watch out for insurance companies, viewers. There's a bit of a traction there because of the regulatory change and may well continue, is what brokerages are saying. So do watch out for that. What about Siemens? There is a query there. Like I said, sorry, I mentioned, but I forgot to elaborate on it. Abhiram, the deal is, and good seeing you, the deal is that Nomura has downgraded Siemens and Elara Cap has upgraded Siemens. So they have been bullish on that. But the Nomura view, they're saying that they are turning cautious after the strong share price rally and potential order inflow growth weakening to low double digits. And results, of course, have disappointed as well. They are saying order inflows are holding up, but it's gone down to low double digits, and therefore they are not as constructive. So I think their target price is still increased from 2,770 to 3,008. It's an implied upside of only 6.8%, and they have downgraded the rating to a neutral from a buy. But it's still not bearish on Siemens, so bear that in mind. Well, that's the long and short of the trade setup today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Have a fantastic Friday and a great weekend, viewers. We'll, of course, have a bunch of conversations that you might want to tune in for. Our theme this week has been is defense the new offense? And in line with that, we talked to Dr. S.K. Jha, who's the CMD of Medhani, at 9:30 today. At 10, we'll speak to Devina Mehra, founder and chairperson and MD of First Global. Great eye on global and local together. And Devina will be a great guest to have. Ajay Bijli of PBR speaks to my colleague Sajid Mangat on the new launch and what could be in store for multiplex companies as Bollywood 2 has made a bit of a comeback. Atul Chaturvedi of Renuka Sugars talks about possible extensions to the sugar export limits and the uptick in sugar prices that we've seen recently. Remember, sugar is a very active pack of late. And then, of course, on the IPO Adda, again, with my colleague Sajid Mangat, Gurdeep Soni, Chairman and MD of Uniparts, gives details about his firm. You might want to tune into that if you're thinking of subscribing to Uniparts. Thanks so much for tuning in. Have a great weekend.